Hello everyone, let's continue this interesting AI and customer experience masterclass with the next panel, which is data challenges across the data silos. I'm Dario, the chairman of Next Pharma Summit, and really glad to welcome here today, together with me, Dirk Abeel. Hi Dirk, how are you?
Hi Dario, very glad to be part of this very great initiative.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much again, right, Dirk? And of course, thank you very much again to Uri Goren as well from Teva, from beautiful Israel. Hi, Uri, how are you? Same question for you.
Hi, how are you?
Thank you very much. So let's deep dive into the conversation and let's start with the problematic. So, gentlemen, what are those challenges when we speak about the data silos? And we all know that COVID really generated a huge ton of data, but seems that we still don't know how to use it in a proper way. So definitely that's a huge challenge. Let's start with you, Uri.
Well, when you look at our data challenges, I think sometimes we think, okay, we will have a lot of data and that will work wonderful. We'll put some algorithms and we'll find the future. But it's really hard to find good data. And also, as you said, sometimes data is siloed, not really connected or has the right context. So it takes a lot of time from having a lot of data to being able to work with that data in a meaningful way, which really contributes. So we sometimes have a lot of data, but it wasn't collected correctly. It wasn't collected to what we want to do with it. So sometimes, even if you have data, it doesn't mean that you really can do something with it.
Thank you very much, Uri. Dirk, same question for you.
Yeah, well, I would like to add, obviously, is that when companies started investing in infrastructure, IT infrastructure, they didn't think long ahead of us. So meaning that, one, in big organizations, especially, you had a lot of legacy systems, and we know what that means. So every country had a bit its own kind of systems. All functions were looking differently at data. And I would even say at the highest level, even at C-suite level, there was not really this mindset of instilling a data mindset and going to actionable insights and bringing all this data together. So building also what Uri said, yeah, as a consequence, obviously, quality of data is unequally spread depending on the maturity of the countries. Even if you have good quality in certain geographies, how do you bring all this data in one place? Because that's where the magic needs to happen. And it's only then that it makes sense to have the right algorithms. But I would really say it's really also from a mindset and the whole organization from the C-suite to the lowest user in the organization should think data, capture the right data in the right quality, in the right place, and also think what is it I would like this data to tell me, the actionable insights.
Thank you very much, Dirk. So we all conclude that it's a huge challenge when we speak about data in multiple data silos. Just as an example, take a look, GDPR consent. I mean, almost in every single solution we have the consent, right? But there is no harmonization, no synchronization at the end of the day. And on the other hand, even furthermore, as we know, COVID really generated this huge amount of data. So my question is, how to use this data now, and what are those new crossroads where we can use the data in the appropriate way? And I believe you know what I'm meaning about. I think we speak about customer experience, AI, machine learning, and the other cutting edge technology and fancy terms. Dirk.
Yeah, it's first of all, starting again to reassess, do we have a correct picture about the expectations from our customer base and their patient base? Because for me, everything should start from there. And it's really to see what is it they are really looking for, the famous segmentation, how do we group this group of customers in a meaningful way? Do we know which kind of channels they want to engage with with us, depending on the purpose of this interaction? Do we have this available from an infrastructure perspective? Do we have a sound data strategy in mind? Because that's often forgotten too, is do we have really a good data strategy, which is encapsulating the whole objective of the organization? Let's say from the life sciences industry, what are our goals spread across the different functions? What is the alignment between these different functions, and what do we have in common from a metric perspective? So one side of the equation, the customer expectations and the patient expectations, what are their channels they're looking at, and how can we then combine that with what we as an organization want to bring, creating value across all these incremental kind of touch points, I would say.
Thank you, Dirk. Uri?
I'd say that, first of all, what Dirk said is critical, but I would like to take a different pinch on this and think about more like test and learn, meaning we can have like big dreams around data and what we can do with it. But I think starting small and starting to test and learn, even if you have huge amount of data from other sources, think of test cases that are pretty clear and pretty easy, let's say, or easier to do in order to try and teach the organization and on your own build your knowledge around how to use data, how to purposely collect the right data, right? So you have a website, you can collect a lot of data out of it, but maybe a lot of it is not meaningful. So start with small, stupid tests and see that you are able to follow on the data, see what it means, make any kind of insights, because that's the beginning of it. And then you can go to bigger sizes of data, but think about what basically is the endpoint, right? I don't think we should start from the data, we should start from the endpoint. If we want to optimize our customer experience on the website, let's try and think about what is the optimal customer experience, go there and then measure what is meaningful there in order to make it better. So again, start with the goals and then go back to what data is needed to reach these goals, and not start with what I can collect and then see what I can find out of it.
Yeah, I would like to build on that if I can, Dario, is because I think also if you look at that, and I like to use another big word is the data democratization, which is going together with that, and which for me also should go in both directions to the customer base, because we need, as you said, Uri, righteously, it's about them, what is it they're looking for, and to see is this making sense, and at the same time internally, needless to say, we need to upskill our people too, so that they really understand. This is, guys, at the end of the day, there is one goal of a company, that's delighting the customer and helping them doing the same with the patient. So for that, we need to transform internally too, I would say.
Yeah, I fully agree with you on the internal side. This is why I think starting small is a good way to teach, right? When you start too big and complex, people get lost.
Correct.
Fully agree. Uri, you mentioned learning by doing. I would say that Sun Tzu once said that 1,000 kilometer journey starts with a single step, right? Which is completely right. I fully agree with you. And Dirk also mentioned a very critical thing, which is actually the culture and change management, so that people actually see the purpose, right? The purpose of why data is important and why organizations should be driven by data and insights. But my next question leads me to the thing that let's move and step back to other industries, just name few of them, right? We all know that, for instance, the banking industry, or maybe some shops like Amazon or some others are having some very granulated and amazing customer data, which leads actually to proper customer experience and even to foresee what is the behavior, what are the preferences, and so on. Are those use cases possible to be implemented in pharma, or is this a mission impossible due to compliance and some other regulation issues? Who would like to go first on this difficult question?
I can start. I think what we call next best offer and next best action is something that is very reasonable for our industry. Again, depending on the use case, meaning if we look at pharmacy markets where there are more B2B or other tender markets, next best offer, next best action makes really good sense, and we should have also the data. also from, and this you can see from different vendors in the industry and also different players in the industry, even on the rep engagement, there are interesting workings done on next best action and also segmentation based on digital behavior, which is a lot to do with first party data, right? Meaning data that you collect on your own assets and with your own data, and trying to make sense out of this. The question is do we have enough data to say something meaningful? And then that depends on the specifics of what we are collecting and how will we make use of it. But I think those are the same concepts that we are as an industry and also as Teva are looking into in order to leverage. It's not easy, and there are boundaries, issues, and all kinds of stuff, but it's not impossible.
Thank you, William. Dirk?
I fully agree. Yeah? To go a bit further, I think what is the difference between the Amazons of the world and let's say the life sciences industry is, of course, the complexity of how you're organized internally. First of all, we have so many different divisions, and it's coming to the heart of this topic, the silos and etc. So what the Amazons of the world are doing very well, and many other similar companies, is all this data is coming together. So there's a huge machinery behind about tagging, who is doing what, the segmentation, the personalization model behind, which we are doing, I would say, on a limited scale within different divisions. So again, it's coming back to the word I used before, this data democratization internally, and why not also sharing data with other competing companies, but that make a richer service offer or experience creation possible. It's quite revolutionary what I'm saying, but I'm sure we will get there, because that's where really the rubber will hit the road and really introduce a big shift and change in what we can bring to the patients, the customers, and let's say even, to use a big word, to the society. But it will take time, because there's a lot that needs to happen to bring us there.
Well, we in Pharma always like to take time, right?
Yeah,
so.
But also I think that the governance system, and coming from all the regulations, you mentioned it at European level, the GDPR, etc. Also, they will have to start looking differently at what can we do with data, with life sciences companies and other organizations for the bigger goal.
Fully agree with you, Dirk. Fully agree. You mentioned in some previous sentence change management. So we all know how important it is that many initiatives actually fail when we are only focused on technology instead of change, culture, and so on. So how to solve this critical issue about change management so that people really believe in data, that they really see the purpose and value of data? How to tackle this problem? I mean, maybe just to build on that and add, recently on some of the next events, we had some beautiful presentations from Teva API. And of course, they're not so regulated like, for instance, the classic pharma division, but they do some amazing cases, amazing job. So how actually to align on such approach, maybe you can really start in this case, to our, let's say, traditional biotech or pharma industry?
So I think change management is not a one-off, right? I think change is kind of always happening. And it's hard, and it goes both ways. You need to look at it from a top down, so getting top management engaged and pushing and wanting to see results based on data science or whatever, or whatever you're changing for, but also from the bottom up, and that comes to not just customer experience, it comes to employee experience. You can build a lot of very nice tools, but if people are not using them, they will not do anything, right? It's a bit like adherence to medication when we say that a pill doesn't work in someone who doesn't take it, right? And in that sense, we're not always in the best place in terms of employee experience and stuff like that. So this is something we need to take more into account. And The second thing I think is also having change management to be really key in what you're doing. We are chasing a lot of technologies a lot of time, and it comes down to that people are more messy than technology. I mean, it's easier to implement a system than to change a mindset. And that's why we sometimes take the easy road of implementing a system and thinking that will solve the problem. If the problem is human-based, usually the solution will be human-based. Technology can help a lot, but it needs to be implemented in a way that people understand the value.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Uri. Dirk?
Yeah, so when I'm listening to Uri, a couple of very important points, and which brings me to say that, again, when we start on such a journey, rationally, we can easily connect to why we should do that. But so exactly explaining to people, the whole organization, because I'm a true believer of transparency. Transparency instills trust, is to say, what are we going to do? Why are we going to do that? How are we going to do that? And what is your place in that whole big change game? And I mentioned the word rational, so the opposite of that is the emotional side. Too often, and I think also Uri, he alluded to that, too often, and especially if you go to the front line, we forget about the impact on the emotional side of people, because we expect, okay, they can make this change, but it's scarier if you have to change suddenly. If we've seen what we've lived through COVID, and especially again in the front line, the anxiety we have seen in the teams, hey, is technology, is data going to replace me? So it's our responsibility to tell our people what and how and what is their place, and also that we are in the same boat. So the whole, and this is because change management is not something which happens, we say, okay, now we kick it in. It is there, and it should be there all the time. And the what is in it for me factor across the whole organization, how do we articulate that so that people can really connect to that is critical if we want to achieve that.
And who should drive this boat?
Yeah, for me, this is something which is owned by the whole organization, and that's why it's bringing it back to what I started off with. Is it starts at the highest level, from the CEO level and downwards. So because saying transparency is trust, walking the talk, data democratization, what is working, what is not working. So at the end of the day, everyone in his responsibility will have to drive this. But that's my perspective, at least.
So is there maybe one of the solution to start this incremental and huge initiative to have like a chief data officer? I mean, it's not something new. We see that many pharma companies are actually having a chief data officer, right?
I think so. The 3-letter frenzies that we have: chief digital officer, chief data officer, chief information officer, chief innovation officer. We have so many chiefs. I think we need some soldiers. And I come back to the front lines. I think a lot of the things kind of live or die on the last person in the chain that needs to operate this in front of the customer. If we want to be the best in front of the customer, we need the people in front of the customer on those front lines, happy, understanding, satisfied, and knowing where they should take it, right? And there are some cases where people have invested in employee happiness and sales grew. So I think that should be the focus. I think chief data officer or chief digital officer is important in terms of coordination, in terms of management perspective, in terms of saying this is important to the organization. But I think, like what we said about customer experience starting from the customer, change management starts from understanding the employees, their journeys and their experience. If you add multiple channels to the work of a salesperson, you need to be able to structure their day and their experience for them to use it. It's nice to say, yeah, add this, add this, add this, but something needs to change. So I think that's on those two sides. And the latter, working with so many people because it's huge organization, is very difficult, and it takes time. You need also patience.
I also believe that for me, the custodian of change should be the line manager. And today, for me, that's often a function which is a bit overlooked. They're supposed to manage, but change manager, a custodian of change, is really helping your team. So the coaching also is part of what Uri is referring to, because yeah, if from the highest level you say, guys, that's the way to go, and then you let people do whatever they want, of course it will not go. So it's bottom up, top down, walk the talk, and for me critical. And I believe that life sciences should invest a lot more in the capabilities and also the emotional intelligence of line management in helping their teams doing that properly.
Thank you very much. Any further advice which you would like to give to the audience?
Try and enjoy it.
I like that.
I mean, you need to enjoy the ride. You need to enjoy what you're doing. If you find interest and joy in this work, fine. If you're just sweating it out,
yeah,
probably should find something else to focus on it. It's a hard job, but you need to somehow enjoy it. We talked about a lot of difficulties, but you should enjoy what you're doing and believe in it.
Yeah. And I think also, we said it, at the end of the day, we want to delight the customer and their patients. So every time we embark on a new initiative, we should ask the question, how is that going to help us creating a better experience for them? And if we cannot give an answer, yeah, maybe we should stay away from it.
Exactly. The journey is difficult, is of course crucial, experience is crucial, and I think that we have all circumstances already set, which is huge data amount. So let's take a look how Pharma will embrace that in the future. Uri, Dirk, thank you so much for joining this panel. It was really a great panel, learned a lot, and of course we will publish it on our official YouTube channel as well. Take very good care.
Thank you, Dario, for having us.
Thank you very much, Dario and Uri. Have a nice day or two. Bye-bye.
Bye.